Hello, fourth graders. Welcome to lesson 1.4, Round Numbers. In this lesson, we will be reviewing, estimating, and rounding numbers to specific place values. Let's get started. Please copy down the definition of estimate and round. To estimate, that tells you about how many or about how much, and it is close to an exact number. Key word being the word about. When you see the word about, that should tell you and signal you that you need to estimate. We use rounding to help us estimate, and it makes the number simpler, but it keeps its value close to what it was. It helps us when estimating to tell you about how much or about how many. First problem. You do not have to copy this down, just follow along as I read and annotate it with you, but do copy down the work that I'll be writing underneath it. During May 2008, the Mount Rushmore National Monument in South Dakota welcomed 138,202 visitors. A website reported that about 100,000 people visited the park during that month. Was the estimate reasonable? Okay, so many clue words and important information in this problem. We know that the exact number of visitors was 138,202, and the word about tells us that the reporter or the website reported that there was about 100,000 people. So we need to check their rounding skills to make sure we agree with their estimate. Since it's telling us that they rounded to 100,000, we are going to make a number line and count by 100,000s. So we have 100,000. The next 100,000 would be 200,000. And no need to continue with that because our number is 138. So we know it's going to be in between 100,000 and 200,000. So let's place 138,202 on the number line. But before we do that, let's figure out what the halfway point is between 100,000 and 200,000 to make our lives a little bit easier. So I know that halfway in between 100 and 200, well, that's 150. So I'm going to place 150,000 right in the middle. And next, place the actual number 138,202. So let's see, that might be right around here. 138,202. So now that we have our exact amount placed, we're going to determine if 138,202 is closer to this 100,000 or closer to 200,000. Well, it's less than the halfway point and much closer to 100,000, so yes, it is a reasonable estimate to round 138,202 to 100,000. So I'm going to write that response statement for you. And here it is. It would not be reasonable if we rounded to 200,000 because it's much closer to 100,000 than 200,000. Let's take a look at the next problem. You do not have to copy this down. Like usual, just follow along as I read and annotate it with you, but do copy the work that I show below. Mount Rushmore is located 5,725 feet above sea level. About how high is Mount Rushmore above sea level to the nearest 1,000 feet? Alright, so we have the exact amount as 5,725. We see the clue word about, which tells us that we're going to be estimating. And it tells us to which place value, which is nearest 1,000. Alright, so I'm going to show you this two different ways. The first way is going to be using the number line that we just used before, but this time we're going to be using thousands place. So 5,725 is in between 5,000 and 6,000. So set it up with 5,000 on the left, and the next 1,000, which would be 6,000 on the right. And in between 5,000 and 6,000 would be 5,500. Oops, too many zeros. Now I can place 5,725 much easier. So that would be maybe halfway in between, and do 5,725. Now, since it tells us to round it to the nearest thousands place, I need to see which thousands the actual number is closer to. Is it closer to 6,000 or closer to 5,000? And yes, you're right, it is closer to 6,000. The second way that I'm going to show you is by writing the exact number. So let's say this is one way, this is the second way, 5,725. And if you remember doing this, we underline the place value that we're looking at, which is the thousands place here, and we're looking to the digit to the right of that, which is the 7 in this case. 5 or above, give it a shove. 4 or below, let it go. So since 7 is greater than 5, I know that I have to bump that 5 in the thousands place up one more. So if I bump up that 5 one more, it becomes a 6, and everything after it becomes zeros. So there's 1, 2, 3, 6,000 feet, which also matches the answer that we got from using the first strategy. Let's try some more problems. Rounding to the place value of the underlying digit. Alright, so for number 3, we have the 6 in the 10,000s underlined. So I'm going to look at the digit to the very right of the underlying place value. So 5 or above, give that 6 a shove. 4 or below, let it go. Since 4, you let it go, that 6 is going to stay the same, and everything after that 6, which would be the 4, 9, 9, 9, would all become zeros. So 64,999 is about 60,000. Let's try it again with number 4. The 8 is underlined. Look to the digit to the right of it. 5 or above, give that 8 a shove. 4 or below, let it go. Since it is a 5, that 8 goes up to a 9, and everything after it becomes zeros. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. Make sure to add your commas in to separate those periods. Number 5, I'm looking at the 1 in the thousands place. Again, look to the digit to the very right of it. 5 or above, give it a shove. 4 or below, let it go. Well, that 5 makes that 1 go up one more digit. Everything in front of the 1 stays. So 3, 0. That 1 becomes a 2. And everything after it, the 5, the 8, and the 7, becomes zeros. So 301,587 rounds to about 302,000. One last problem together. The 0 in the thousands place is underlined. Look to the very right, which is the 8. 5 or above, give it a shove. That 0 becomes a 1. The 1 in the 10,000s place stays. That 0 becomes a 1. And everything after it becomes zeros. So 1, 2, 3. 10,832 is about 11,000. Here are your practice problems. Round to the place value of the underlined digit. Make sure you're using the 5 or above, give it a shove. 4 or below, let it go. And turning all the digits to the right of the underlined place value into zeros and keeping everything before it the same. Alright, enjoy the rest of your day.